You ever heard of the BRRRR method? It is the most common talked about real estate investing strategy that I hear from new investors every single day. And I'm here to tell you that method is dead. Now, if you're wondering who I am, my name is David A. Pettis. I am a tax strategist and real estate investor who's helped over 50,000 people file their taxes and have millions of dollars saved for my clients using strategies just like the BRRRR method. So BRRRR, what does that stand for? Buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. To borrow money, even at a short-term rate, is over 12%. And if that's the case, that means if you're looking for properties, you have to know what you're doing and you have to move super fast, because the longer that you borrow money, the more interest you're going to pay. What's the next step? You've got to identify a property. Now, finding properties is equally as hard because property today has skyrocketed in value. Properties in general are just hard to find. If you use a traditional method like a broker or a realtor, you're probably going to encounter overpriced properties. The alternative is to go to a wholesaler who could find you properties, but in most cases, they're lacking inventory just the same. Now, if you can find a property through a wholesaler or a realtor, the most important part of the process is buying it undervalued or under market price. Now, I use an 80% formula, which takes 80% of the after repair value, which is what is stated usually on realtor.com or Zillow, that what the property is worth. I take 80% of that and I subtract the repair cost, and that's the maximum amount of money that I could purchase this property for. Now, most cases, the math just doesn't math. What happens is you math out a property and you realize you've got to buy that thing at maybe 30% or 20% of what the after repair value is, and the seller just doesn't want to go to that number, and so you're stuck. But let's say you decide to move forward and you think you have a formula, and then you get into the property and you start the renovation. So let's talk about renovation. You start the renovation process of this property that you newly acquired either with borrowed funds or with your own money, and now you're renovating. Now you start with the floors and the roof and the electrical and plumbing, and let's say all of a sudden an unexpected cost arises. Let's say it has asbestos and now you have to get a remediation treatment, which means you hire a company and they have to come take out all the tile or all the insulation or some part of the property, and that just doubled the cost of repairs. And the formula that you use to purchase the property is out of whack. After you repair it, you may not make any money. But you're like, well, it's okay because I'm going to refinance and get my money out in just a little while. So let's say you continue with the renovations, you complete renovations, and you put the property up for rent. So you have rent out now, and you put out a sign for rent, and you get people that say, I'm interested. So now you have to screen and manage renters, which kind of sucks, but that's what you're going to do. And you're going to try to get the most for the rental. And let's say that you get up to $2,000 for the rental, and that's at market for you. And you're like, yeah, that's great. So you now have secured a tenant, and you're ready to now do the next part of the process, which is refinance. So you go to a bank and the bank says, what do you want to refinance? You give them the property address, you give them all the information, they run an appraisal, and then they say, well, based on the appraisal, we can lend you this much, 80%. And let's say that's less than what you actually have in the property. So you're going to actually leave some money in the deal, but you're still excited to get the money out. So great, this is awesome. So you're going to take the property, refinance it. And the reason they're going to refinance it is because you have a secure tenant and the tenant is going to pay the mortgage, right? You start getting your first monthly mortgage payment, and let's say it's $2,500 a month. And you're like, whoa, why is it $2,500 a month? Well, that's interest, taxes, and the mortgage payment. So you're telling me that I've got to pay $2,500 a month, but I'm only getting $2,000 a month from the tenant. And like, yeah, that's it. And you're like, wait a minute, I thought I signed up for this buy, renovate, rent, and repeat, and I'm supposed to come out with cash, aren't I? Well, you're supposed to, but guess what? The BRRRR method is dead. You see, being able to refinance has changed significantly because what you didn't think about is the interest rate environment that we're in is high. That means the mortgage payment's high. Of course, the deal would work if the interest rates were cut in half, but they're not. So now you're going to fall into this lie that people are saying, well, you just pay the $500 for a few months until the rates go down and then you refinance again. Little do you know that at that refinance, yes, you can do it lowering the payment, but now you're going to pay closing costs again and finance fees. And now you're sitting on a property that's costing you $500 a month forever, and you're calling it a win. So what I recommend to anybody who's in the real estate game right now is to focus on properties that are undervalued that you can Airbnb. You see, Airbnb offers the ability for you to get more monthly rental income because you can rent it by day, not necessarily by the month. And this gives you the opportunity to probably make 2 times what you would normally make if you rented it by the month. Although you'll have additional expenses and a management fee, you still will be closer to breaking even or being cash flow positive monthly. The big win still, if you did the BRRRR and it came out negative for you, is that you can get the tax benefits from this by maximizing your property and getting a cost segregation study or leveraging it as a tax play. Although that's still not big enough, I still think if you've done this and you're already in the game, you might as well maximize it. But if you haven't gotten in the game, don't do that. Do the short-term rental loophole or some other strategy until interest rates go down. Now, if you want to know more about short-term rentals and how they impact your tax situation and how you can maximize them, comment below. I've been thinking about recording a video. I'd love to know your feedback. But as always, if you like content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I appreciate you watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.